Hey, today we're going to talk about FIFO, LIFO, and average cost method. So FIFO stands for first in, first out. We sell our oldest first. LIFO, we're going to sell our newest, last in, first out. And the average cost method is in between. We weren't really sure, should we use FIFO or LIFO? So we'll average out our costs. In our tables, we have three sections, one for purchases, one for cost of goods sold, and one for inventory on hand. Purchases will show every time I buy inventory to sell. My cost of goods sold will show me every time that I sell inventory. And my inventory on hand shows me what we have left of our inventory. So in my example on July 1st, for all three scenarios, we'll have the same starting quantity. So in June, our ending inventory now becomes our beginning inventory for July. So we have 2 units that we paid $40 each, so a total cost of $80. On July 5th here, using the FIFO method, I now purchased 6 units for $45. So my inventory on hand, I now have 2 for $40 and 6 for $45. Okay. So 2 for $40 and 6 for $45. Okay. So I now need to do the 80 plus the 275. Okay. Here on the 15th, we'll sell, let's sell 7 units. So what 7 will I sell? Well, I have 8, and I'll sell 7 of those. So I want to sell my oldest first. So the older ones are the 2 for $40, and then I'll need to take 5 for $45. So 2 at $40 and 5 at $45. So my total cost would be the $80 plus 5 for $45. So what do I have left? I have 1 for $45. Okay. On July 26th, we're going to purchase 7 for $50. So I'm going to go add that 7 to my inventory on hand. So now I have 1 for $45 and 7 for $50. So I'll have my 45 plus the 350 there. Okay. And now on the 31st, let's go ahead and sell 5. So what 5 will I sell? So I'll go to my cost of goods sold section. So I'm going to sell the oldest first. First in, first out. So I'm going to sell the 1 for $45 and 4 for $50. So I'll have 45 plus 4 for 50 is 200. So my inventory on hand now is going to be, I had 8, I sold 5, so I have 3 left over. 3 for 50. So my purchases, so I bought a total of 13 during the month of July for a total cost of $620. Okay. My cost of goods sold, so I ended up selling 7 and 5. Okay. I'm totaling them up. And then I'll want to total up my total cost, 305 and 245. So I want to add these numbers together. And my inventory on hand, this is not a total, it's a remaining. So at the end of the month I had a remaining of 3 for 150. So these 3 will now become my beginning inventory for August if I were to do August now. Okay, so that's the FIFO method. Moving down to LIFO. So now we want to sell the newest first. So again here, we're going to purchase 6 for 45. Same scenario. I'm just going to copy this. So we're going to have 2 for 40 and 6 for 45. Okay. And on July 15th, we're going to sell, again, 7 units. What 7 will I sell? Okay. So I want to sell the newest first, so I'm going to sell the 6 for 45, and then I'll need 1 at 40. Okay. So I'm taking 1 for 40 and 6 for 45. So my total cost is going to be 40 plus 6 times 45. $310. Okay. So my numbers aren't matching my previous example because we're selling different units in this scenario, and the units had different costs. The costs were rising. So now how many do I have left? I had 2 and 6, and I sold 1 and 6. Okay. So I have 1 left over, and that 1 had a cost of 40. Okay. On July 26th, we are going to buy 7. So I'm going to come over here to my inventory on hand. I need to add 7 to it. So we'll have 1 and 7. I have 1 for 40 and 7 for 50. So this is going to be $390, my total cost. And on the 31st, we're going to sell 5 units. So what 5 will I sell? Well, I want to sell the newest, and my newest are the ones that I just bought for 50 each. Okay. So I'm going to sell 5 for 50, and I'll get 250 here. So what do I have left? We'll have 1 for 40, and I have 2 for 50. So I have 140 left. Okay. So my totals for the purchases remains the same for all 3 methods. It will not change. My cost of goods sold, so I sold 7 and 5 is 12. Okay, I'm going to add these costs up. 310 and 250 is 560. And then how many do I have remaining now? So I have 3 left over that have a cost of 140. Okay. So let's take a look here. My cost of goods sold for the month of July using FIFO was $550, and my inventory on hand was $150. If I were to add these 2 numbers together, I would have $700. Using the LIFO method, my cost of goods sold went up, increased, which is an expense, so it's going to lower my net income. And my inventory on hand went down. Okay, and inventory on hand is an asset. Okay. But my expense went up by the same amount that my inventory on hand went down. Okay. So as you see here, my 2 numbers equal. And using the average cost method, we'll get approximately 700. I say approximately because we have some rounding with the decimals. Depending on how many decimal places we go out, it can mess things up for us. So here we have the average cost method. So it's going to take a little bit longer to do. It's a little bit more time, but we'll try to whip through it. Okay. So we're going to buy 6. We had 2, so now we have 8. How much did those 8 cost me? Well, I'm finding an average. Okay. So I want to take the 270 plus the 80. I'm taking my total cost for the 8, and I want to divide by 8. Okay. And so now I'm going to take the 8 times the 4375, 350. So far we are the same. Okay. But now we're going to sell. Now we're selling 7. What 7 do I sell? The 7, the average for the average cost of $43.75. So my total cost is going to be 7 times 43.75. Okay. So what do I have left? I have 1 for 43.75. Okay. On the 26th, we're buy 7 for 50. So now I need to add that to my 1. So now I have 8 again. But my unit cost is going to change. So I did have 1 for 43.75, and now I have 7 for 350. Okay. So when I add up my costs, I have the 43.75 plus the 350. So I'm taking total cost of all the units divided by the number of units to find the average. Okay, so here, as you see, now we're running into problems with my decimal. I'm going to go ahead and round up to the nearest 100th place. So I'm going to take the 8 times my 49.22. Okay, so there's my inventory on hand. And now on the 31st, we're going to sell 5. What 5 are we going to sell? The 5 for 49.22. So now my total cost. So I have 3 left over for the 49.22, my average cost. I'm going to go ahead and multiply this. Alright, so we sold for the month of July 12. How much did we pay for those 12? We're going to pay this plus this, it's a total. Okay, and then inventory on hand is a remaining. It's not a total, we're not adding up. So we have a remaining of 3 for the 147.66. Alright, let's just see how this worked out for us. So if I were to take this plus this, okay, we've got 700. The reason why I was able to get exactly 700 is because my Excel is carrying out all the decimals for me. If I were to do this by hand without computer software or accounting software, it would be off a little bit. But the point that we want to focus in on, I want to show you, is that with all 3 methods, my inventory on hand plus my cost of good will be the same. Okay, if one goes up, the other will go down by that same amount. Okay, it's our seesaw on the playground effect. And if you can see my average cost method, my cost of goods sold is somewhere in between my FIFO and LIFO method. It's between the 550 and the 560. And my inventory on hand amount is somewhere in between the 140 and the 150. It's kind of a middle of the road method. Okay, so that's it for the LIFO, FIFO, and average cost method. Any questions? Feel free to ask me in class. Good day.